Welcome to episode 4 of Running on OCP. It's a series where we share how organizations are using OCP in a variety of use cases. We interview end users who are deploying Open Compute, software companies who have built solutions on OCP, as well as technical committees and public sector entities who are aligning with OCP tenets. And this week's episode, I have a discussion with Dondy Bappedyanto, who is the CEO of Biznet Gio. Biznet Gio is a cloud hosting provider in Indonesia, and Dondy shares with us his journey around open networking, some areas of focus for Biznet moving forward, and some of the areas that he sees that OCP can take advantage and provide value add across Southeast Asia. So I hope you enjoy this episode of Running on OCP with Dondy Bappedyanto, the CEO of Biznet Gio. Joining me today is Dondy Bappedyanto, the CEO of Biznet Gio in Indonesia. Dondy, thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you, Steve.
So I'm sure that there are many people in the community who may not be familiar with Biznet Gio and some of the services you offer in Southeast Asia. So tell us a little bit about yourself, how you started Biznet and your background, and then the things that you offer throughout Indonesia.
Sure, Steve. But first of all, I would like to thank you for the opportunity. Let me introduce myself. My name is Dondy Bappedyanto. I'm the CEO of Biznet Gio. I've been in the cloud business in Indonesia starting from 2007, 2008. I think I'm the first person in Indonesia who brought the term of cloud computing in the industry, because before there are only hosting providers, like they provide a web hosting and then probably some VPSs. But then again, in 2008, I was the one who coined the term of, hey, we should call it's not about VPS anymore, but it's a cloud server, because the scale is different. And then I joined Biznet in 2016. I was with different providers, different cloud providers, and then joining Biznet in 2016. Biznet Gio itself is a joint venture between the Biznet networks in Indonesia, one of the largest ISP in Indonesia, and the IIJ Japan, one of the largest ISP in Japan. And then in 2015, they come to the market. They have a joint venture together called Biznet Gio. So Biznet Gio itself, we offer cloud services ranging from IaaS to SaaS to our customers in Indonesia, and we only operate in Indonesia. I think that's what I can tell about Biznet Gio and myself, Steve.
So it's interesting. It's a joint venture between Biznet as well as IIJ, correct? Throughout.
That's correct.
And so I think that there may be some people that underestimate the size of the Indonesian markets overall. Now, it is the 16th largest economy, but just share with people the size and scope of the Indonesian market in general and the complexities that go around serving so many different geographies within Indonesia.
Well, from the population size, we are about 300 million. I think we are in the top 5 of the largest population in the world. We have like a huge numbers of small, medium enterprises. And then we also have like several big enterprises, although it's not listed in Fortune some hundreds or anything, but I know they are large. And that's the reason why there are a lot of hyperscalers as well who came to Indonesia in the last couple years. But you know, although those hyperscalers is practically my competitors, actually it validated that the industry exists in Indonesia, and the people needs the cloud services more and more, not only from the enterprises but also from the small medium enterprise, or you know, the things that I like to call a mom and pop store. There are a lot in Indonesia, and now they're starting to realize that they need a cloud services because of the pandemic. And also there's a retail market, which is the individuals, whether it's a developers or some enthusiasts who needs cloud services to put probably their blog or whatever that they want to put on the internet.
Yeah, that's great. So you're covering a lot of the market that maybe the hyperscalers can address, or that are maybe not set up to do and set up to address in the appropriate way, the way that a local cloud provider can do so.
That's correct.
Yeah.
That's correct.
So talk about the infrastructure that you have in place and how has it evolved over the years. So talk about compute, storage, and networking, and how have you evolved that throughout the course of Biznet's development?
So yeah, previously Biznet is like a, it's an ISP kind of a company, right? So cloud is just new to them. In terms of using the hardware, we were just doing conventional. We were just doing the OEM coming from the brand or some big brands. But then again, when I came along in 2016, because of my previous experience that I've been using OCP before, then I tell to the team that I told them, hey, why don't we experiment or do some research on the white box hardwares, right? Instead of the black box hardware. At that time, the white box is not so popular. I think the OCP itself is not. I mean, people knows. I think it started from some large company, but then again, in practicality, only a few who has used the OCP, right? And then in 2000 and I think in 2018, I met one of the executive of EdgeCore. He's the one who convinced me. I've known EdgeCore before in my previous company. We have used them, but then again, it was a black box, right? It is with their own operating systems. But in 2018, my meeting with this executive, he told me that, hey, actually now EdgeCore can do a white boxes. We can provide the hardwares, and you can choose your own operating systems. So that's what made me interested. Is like, hey, now I can run with. I don't need all the junks coming from the OS from the hardware vendors. I can choose whatever modules or whatever things that I need on the OS instead of just follow whatever the hardware vendors think it's right. So that's actually motivate me to influence my teams that, hey, maybe we can run more efficient if we use the white box, because we can pick and choose what kind of modules on operating systems. So I think in 2019 we are transitioning from the OEM networks equipment, the switches, to the OCP network switches. And I think now in 2021, I think 95% of our network switches is based on OCP, based on EdgeCore actually.
Wow, 95%. That's great.
Right.
So a lot of people, Dondy, when they think about open networking, they may think that this is a big challenge, they need a big team. How difficult was that to make the move from traditional OEM to train your team to move to an open source hardware?
Well, frankly, in our team, the transition is not that hard, because most of my team they love Linux, right? They love the operator, they love OSS. And then when I told them that, hey, maybe we can choose this because it's based on Linux, they're also excited, because their skill sets that they had on the operating system, now they can use for their managing the network equipment. So actually the learning curve is not that huge for my team, but I think for the other teams or any other company, the situation might be different because they're so used to with the OS from the OEM or some not operating open source software.
That's interesting. You made the comment around how your engineers love Linux, and I hear that time and time again, that if you're a company that enjoys and embraces open source, the transition to open source hardware is a lot easier.
That's correct.
Now, when the benefits and the flexibility that you've seen within OCP networking, have you seen a reduction in CapEx and OpEx as you've moved toward these open designs?
Oh yeah, definitely on the CapEx, because the the white boxes is cheaper than the black boxes. That's definite, right? And also from the OpEx standpoint, yeah, like the OS, I can choose the one who the software, open source software with a subscription for support, or I can choose the community edition. I mean, depends on my needs. If it is mission critical, definitely I need some subscription for support. But it is only for development or some staging environment, then yeah, I just use the community edition, and that's actually cut my OpEx by a lot.
That's great. The ability, I guess, the flexibility there, being able to choose the operating system that you want, has added a lot of competitive advantage. But do you think overall, open source gives you a competitive advantage in Indonesia compared to other companies?
Definitely, Steve. I mean, we've been talking about it. I'm a big fan of open source. I'm a big fan of OCPs. I think we are starting from next year. We're going to transitions to the OCP-based servers because of some projects that we have, and hopefully we can transition our servers to the OCP along the line.
And what other than, so you're going to be thinking about compute and storage in the future for open designs, and then what are the other bigger challenges that you see coming up here in the next few years in Indonesia around open infrastructure?
I think to educate the market, right now the OCP hardware vendors is like scramble here and there, right? Unlike the OEM base, they consolidate their power, they educate the market, they do a marketing engagement with the users. Right now, I think for the OCP hardwares to be successful here is they need to consolidate everything together. I think it's great that I know you, Steve. It's great that you have the roles. And then you told me that you already have a labs in Indonesia that people can come and see what is the OCP hardware, both on the compute storage and also networking. I think that's what makes the OCP will be, going to be successful in Indonesia or in the developing market. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, that lab will be coming up with hopefully within the next 2 to 3 months, based on a lot of the other members that are starting to show more interest. But it's people like you locally that are going to help drive this awareness and education. I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit. When you and I first spoke, I was quite surprised that you had heard of OCP for more than 10 years. I think you were one of the very first adopters of open compute anywhere in the world. How did you come across open compute 10 years ago in Indonesia, and what made you try it?
Well, it was because of the, if I'm not mistaken, it was because of the OpenStack conference back in the day. It was in Hong Kong, right? I was attending it, and then one of the, can I mention a brand over here?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, it was Quanta actually who catch my eyes, that at that conference they have a booth and they show me what OCP is all about, right? All the integrated power and then the density of this compute as well as the storage. That's what caught my eyes. And then, yeah, back to Jakarta, I was having a project that I need to have a new servers, and then I thought to myself that, hey, why don't I give this OCP a try, right? Because of the promise, because of the capability and the features that they had. So I think that's what that made me use the OCP. Although I can tell about 10 years ago it was not a good experience, but I believe that OCP is evolving, and now I think it's getting more and more mature, right? So I
Yeah,
think it's,
yeah, it's.
yeah,
I
but
always tell you were very adventurous 10 years ago to try this on your own in Indonesia. That's great. I love that story. Um, so now that you've started to work a little bit with open compute networking and you're looking at storage and compute in the future, what's next for Biznet? Any new services or offerings planned in the coming year?
well, we are always bring back the cost to the customers. If I can use the OCP and can lower down my cost, whether it's my CapEx or OpEx, then I can brought back that cost to my customers, which they can enjoy like better prices, and then of course definitely with a better support from our side.
And I noticed that you have a lot of different services. You have everything from cloud and IT to enterprise to gaming, financial, government. I have two questions then on around these segments. What is your view on the gaming industry in Indonesia? Have you seen a significant growth in that industry at your level?
Oh yeah, it's great that you asked these questions. Actually, in Indonesia right now, the gaming industry is start to booming, if not booming already, because of the esports. I think now the youth is looking looking at the gaming is not as a hobby anymore, but now as their goal in life, right? Because they see that a lot of esports players are getting more attentions, both financial or from the stardom, and now it's like the industry is becoming more and more serious. There are a lot of good esports teams in Indonesia, not only winning regionally in Southeast Asia, but also worldwide. And from my service perspective, actually, we are cooking something that people can enjoy to have their own server instead of using somebody else's servers. They can use their own servers, pay on the monthly basis, and yeah, they can use whatever world that they want in our servers.
See, look at that. Now I'm expecting Biznet to be sponsoring some esports teams in the near future. I can imagine
Actually,
it.
it will happen. Yes, it will happen, Steve. It will happen.
That's great. One last question about the Indonesian government. Have they, in other regions, the government has played a pretty active role in influencing open designs and moving toward open source. Have you seen similar policies from the Indonesian government around moving toward open source infrastructure?
Yeah, I think as long as you can talk with the right person in the government, I think they will welcome the idea of open hardwares, because right now our government is having a campaign to use more and more things that made in locally, right? Not only for servers but for any other things. So it's the campaign of self-sustain that actually can pave a way for the open compute or for the OCP to come to the Indonesian government.
Yeah, we see that across, especially in Europe, how they're developing their own regional cloud network to
Yeah,
ensure localized services. So it's good to see that happening in other parts as well, and the role that Biznet's going to be able to play in that.
yeah.
So I just want to end everything with one question here. What advice would you give to others who might be interested in going down this OCP path? How would you recommend that they start, and what key pieces of advice would you give?
I think you already mentioned, be brave, be adventurous, be patient. And yeah, actually it's similar like any other open source software in the past. you might find an obstacles, but then again, if you can overcome the obstacles, actually, it will give you the benefit in the long run.
Very sound advice. Dondy, thank you very much. It's been a real pleasure speaking with you. I've really enjoyed getting to know how Biznet is structured and your leadership within Indonesia and the way that you're approaching open infrastructure. It is really refreshing and exciting to see what you're going to be doing here in the next year or so. My guest today has been Dondy Bappedyanto, the CEO of Biznet Gio. And I'll be back with my key takeaways from my conversation with Dondy in just a minute. Thanks, Dondy.
Thank you, Steve.
What a great conversation today with Dondy from Biznet Gio. And there were several things that I took away from the conversation. One, including the fact that 95% of his network is running on OCP switches, which is just fantastic considering the type of services and the breadth of services that he offers to the Indonesian market. The second is when I was asking about training and how hard it was to move to open compute, he hit on a very pervasive theme in the fact that his engineers know and love Linux, and it made the transition very easy. And third is the main area that we need to address in Southeast Asia if we're going to help companies adopt open compute, and that is around education. So the ability to see the hardware, experience with the hardware, and talk to people like Dondy who have been through this process before will be key in the coming years. So again, I really appreciate my Dondy for joining me. Please look out for more episodes of Running on OCP in the future, where we interview end users, software companies, as well as other organizations that align to OCP principles. Thanks for listening.